Welcome back everyone to the final Cetme C video. So in this video I'm going to do the finishing. As you can tell, it's all rough. There's no finish on this thing whatsoever unless it was remaining from the original Spanish finish. But in this video we're going to parkerize it, but I've got two things to cover with you first. Alright, so item number one here on the list to cover before we start finishing is the sight adjustment. So last range video I was shooting high. I could not hit the target no matter what I tried. Even if I got the sight tool, I adjusted it up as far as I could go, I was still shooting high. So I did what any normal person would do and hack apart the welds that I just made on the trunnion. So I'll probably insert like a picture here or something like that. And so I cut the trunnion out, I bent the barrel, and not bent the barrel, but I moved the barrel and the trunnion in relation to the gun. So when I was doing this, I could tell that this line here was not in line with the barrel. So what I did is I just tweaked it until this line was in line with the barrel. And I also had to slightly tweak this thing over as well. So all I did is heat up the silver solder and then just take a wrench to it and move it over. I think it was like 9 thou around the barrel. So with that, I was able to get this thing zeroed at 200 yards and it works great. So I had a spread of probably, maybe 8 inches or so. 200 yards, horizontal. There was no vertical spread for whatever reason, but all horizontal spread there, and I'm super happy with that for iron sight, battle rifle. That's more than enough for what I'm going to be doing with this thing. So that said, let's take a look at what else I did. So check that out. I actually reproduced the factory marking, made my own serial number, and etched this thing. So what I ended up doing was electro etching these markings on. So I found a guy on Weapons Guild that had made a DXF file, a vector file of these markings here. Left the serial number blank, but got most of it. He pulled it from an original image. So the detail in like the logo wasn't quite there. But besides that, I was able to expand the margins out just a little bit and get some real nice lettering going on there. So to do that etching, what I did was I bought one of those little Cricut things that's just a vinyl cutter, and I took the DXF file, put it on the computer, and found some fonts for the serial number that looked about right. Combined that with the image of the DXF vector file, whatever you want to call it, onto the app, really, essentially. So what I got here is the app for this, and that's the marking for it. And I just basically made the margins a little bigger on the computer, did some editing, added my serial number that I wanted into it, and then sent it off to the vinyl cutter. It took like, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes to cut the vinyl out, and then you got to pick out all the little tiny stuff on the piece of vinyl once you print it, and then you transfer the vinyl onto your gun, and then you electro etch it. So to electro etch it, I did it stupid easy, stupid cheap. Hang on 1 second, let me get something for you. To etch it, I just used the standard wall wart here, 12 volt DC power supply. You hook the positive lead, which is just, some wires. Hook that up to the gun and put the negative lead on a little chunk of aluminum I had laying around and wrapped a piece of felt on it. Then all I gotta do is get some salt water, so just dump a bunch of salt in some water, mix it in a little bit better than it was. And then dip your little felt thing in the water and then just start moving it all over the gun. So you hold it on for probably like 10 seconds in a spot. Take a little toothbrush, scrub off all the little gunk that shows up, and do that for probably, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 different times, and eventually you're gonna start eating away at the metal and it's gonna etch only where the stencil was not. So that's how I reproduced that marking there, and I think it turned out fan-freaking-tastic, honestly. So when I actually get my FFL here, what I plan on doing is using that electro etch technique to do all my markings, all my serial numbers for the FFL, because it is deep. So the deeper or the longer you do it, the deeper it will get. So the more metal it'll take off, but you're not going to go, burning through a piece of sheet metal. So here's all the parts that I'm going to be parkerizing. It's mostly all the stuff on the outside. This recoil spring you can't get off because it's welded in the back. I don't really care, honestly, so what I'll probably end up doing is suspending it in my tank like this. so it only parkerizes the back end and, you know, just a little bit of that. All the little stuff we can tie with wires, magazine, the bolt, and obviously the main gun component. So with that, what I'm going to do is take this thing inside, give it a good scrubbing in the bathtub with some dish soap and water, and then after that what we'll do is dry it off and then take it outside and blast it. So I got to blast all the old material off, get it nice and roughed up. I use a coal slag, a fine coal slag from Tractor Supply, and that seems to do a really nice finish for me, so I'll stick with that. As you can tell, this stuff has been blasted already, so it'll look like that once we blast it again, but obviously all over. So stand by, I'm going to go inside and rub this thing down, get it some. All right, so now that I went inside and washed everything down, now is that was the last time I would touch this stuff without gloves on until it's done. So put gloves on, go outside, and let's do some sandblasting. Okay, there's the bolt carrier all done. We're not going to do the bolt because that was blued, but bolt carrier is blasted. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of the stuff blasted. We'll follow up with me when we're all done there. So everything has been blasted. Everything looks good. So all the little black spots on it is just kind of where the coal slag media is left over, but once we get it in the degrease tank and hot water tank, all that'll just rub right off. Not a big deal. As you can see, everything has been blasted nice and clean. That and the bolt all looks good. So I've got the tie wire here, just some wire I got from Lowe's. I don't know what it is. I use it for bluing and parkerizing because you have to suspend everything in the tank. So you can't have anything resting on the bottom or you have some weird patterns form when it's where it's resting. So we suspend it from the wire as best we can so that the wire isn't really touching anything that you care about the finish on, because you still get, you know, a really faint wire mark. Even if like I wrap it around right here, I'll get a really faint wire mark unless I keep moving the wire around every few minutes. But yeah, so there's everything all blasted. We'll get it tied up here in a couple minutes. And let's go over what the solution is that I use. Okay, so what I use is this Allegheny Arsenal parkerizing solution. So it comes in a kit if you want. It comes with a degreaser and the after soak oil, whatever you want to call that. You don't need all that. I usually do, just because it's available. So they have the manganese and the zinc. So manganese will get you like a dark finish, and a zinc will get you more of like a gray finish. So depending on what you're looking for, that's what you should get. The degreaser lasts a little while, but not as long as this will last. So I'm still using the same gallon or so of solution that I started with probably about a year and a half ago. So keep that in mind. If you need to use a degreaser, you can use just any commercial degreaser like Simple Green or Purple Power, that kind of thing. That all works just fine. But here's the instructions that they send to you. If you want to pause it, I'll give you a chance to read it. So it gives you the concentration ratio, gives you the temperature. So 175 to 200 is our goal here. So it says basically clean everything with a degreaser and then rinse it in hot water and then dunk in the tank essentially. So it says 10 to 20 minutes will get you a dark gray finish. Leaving parts in will make them more darker, so blacker. that's really about it. So after you're done in the park tank, you put it back in the hot water to flush, and then after you take it out of the hot water, all the water will flash off it because it's hot, so it'll just dry real quick, and you just got to get it soaking in some after soak oil. I've used WD-40 just fine. I've used their oil that they send with this, and it all works just fine. The idea is you have to get oil on it as soon as it comes out of the tanks, because it will start flash rusting if you don't get oil on it real quick. So let's jump over to the tanks, see what I got going on over there. So here's my simple parkerizing setup. I just got 2 double burner hot plates from Walmart. I think those are like 20 bucks each. Got the tanks here. So I got 1 thermometer. I don't know where I got that from. Got it from something. And then my park tank right here. In the back, I have a separate hot water tank. And then down on the floor here, I've got a degrease tank, and that's just got purple power in it right now with some water. So you may ask, what tanks are these? Where did I get them from? Well, they are stainless steel speed rails, what they're called. I think they're like bartender stuff. But yeah, these are like 42 or 48 inch speed rails. So they're mounted on the side of the bar. I think you put liquor in it. I don't know. I don't drink. So yeah, so bought these, ended up sealing the seams. So all around the bottom, there is, you know, a spot welded seam, and I just used some high temp silicone on those. And so far they hold up pretty good. That one down on the floor there has got a little leak to it right in the corner. I just have to fix it. I think that one got a little too hot once, but these 2 are pretty solid. They don't really ever leak. Looks like we are almost getting up to temperature here. We're about 165. We need to be 170 to 200-ish. I think that's what it said. So I'm going to go ahead and get these parts strung up with the wire. All right, so I got most of it tied up. You can see there is tie wire on some of it. I didn't do all this stuff yet because if we go over to my tanks, we are at 180, so I got to get parts in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get probably some smaller parts in there, not the receiver yet, but some smaller parts just to test it out, see how it's working now. I haven't done this in about 1.5 years or so. Okay, so I got the cocking handle in there. I've got the rear sight in there. I'm just swishing the parts in this degrease tank a little bit. In the hot water tank, just to kind of rinse off any degreaser that's on them. In they go. So I'll get you down here so you can see what's happening. So you can see it's kind of bubbling. That's how you know it's working. So when things stop really bubbling, that's when it's kind of slowing down the reaction. So you can tell the parts that I just put in are really cooking. So I'm probably going to leave these in here for, I don't know, the maximum amount of time really, because I want these to be a darker black. So I'll start loading more parts in, and off we go. Okay, so some of these parts have been going for, I don't know, 7 to 10 minutes. The bolt's the newest one in there, but as you can see, they are darkening up. They're still bubbling. So it's going. Obviously, yeah, some of this stuff won't quite fit in here straight, so I did what I had to do here to get it in at an angle, so it is touching the bottom. Same thing with that, and obviously the bolt. Those are all touching the bottom. It is what it is. I can't really do much better than that. but should turn out good as long as we keep it moving. So what I'll do is I'll get in here and flip this over so that the part that was contacting the bottom is up and not touching anymore. So it kinda has more of an even finish and it won't have just one solid piece that's a different color. So I got all these small parts done. I put them in the hot water tank for a bit just to soak and get the solution off of them. And I put them in this box and then just hose them down with some good old WD-40. So I ran into a problem doing the receiver, and the problem is it doesn't fit in my speed rail. So my speed rail is not wide enough. If I were to do this again, definitely would be buying a wider speed rail. But what I'm doing here is I'm just keep flipping it every couple of minutes, just so I don't get like a hard line right where that is. So if I just keep flipping it, rotating it every couple of minutes here, hopefully I'll reduce that appearance of that line. But it's going, it's in, it's not ideal, but we'll make it work. Well, here it is. I'm not too ecstatic with the way it turned out, just because the tank was a little too small, but overall it's pretty darn good. You can see the little line right there. That's because it wouldn't fit in the tank, and that's just what happened. So I might redo this eventually with a bigger tank. So I'll probably end up retiring this tank after this and getting a bigger tank so I can actually parkerize things that are a little too big. So if I get like a 5-inch wide tank or maybe a little bit taller, I would have been able to fit this in one shot and it would have been nice. But yeah, overall I'm pretty happy. It's better than it was. Let me get this thing together real quick and we'll have one last look at it. So here we are out in the sun. You see it's not perfect. Got a little bit of discoloration on the welds. Not terrible. For the most part, I think it looks pretty darn good. And for the other side. Yeah, I'll take it. So yeah, quite happy with how this turned out. Might redo it eventually, but not for a while because I got some other stuff to do. But yeah, super happy with that. Now it's ready to probably just go in the safe and never be shot because I don't have time to shoot anymore. But regardless of that, I'm hoping to actually get this thing out more and actually shoot it because it was pretty fun plinking at 200 yards with just these little crappy iron sights. So that's it for the Cetme C build. Follow me for more. If you want a bolt conversion, let me know. I do a whole bunch of bolt conversions. The next project I'm working on is another Cetme, but not the C. It's going to be the Cetme L. So stay tuned for more Cetme builds. This time the Cetme L. See you next time, guys.